Now, just how much money is flowing into the alternative energy industry? Our next guest says that renewable energy investments will surge in the new year, regardless of what happens at the UN Climate Change Conference in Copenhagen. So joining us now with all the stats is Michael Liebreich. He is CEO of New Energy Finance, which, by the way, was just acquired by Bloomberg LP, the parent company of Bloomberg News. Thank you so much for joining us, Michael. Give us a quick rundown, first of all, of the kinds of investment numbers we're looking at for this year and then next year.
Well, Scarlet, this year it's going to be down somewhat on last year as a result of the crisis. So this year we're looking at figures of somewhere around $130 billion in renewable energy and energy efficiency and carbon capture and storage and so on worldwide. So $130 billion. And we think that that's going to soar. It could be somewhere near $200 billion next year.
Give us a sense of where that money is coming from, public sector versus private sector, Western Europe versus, say, the Americas.
Well, in terms of geographies, Europe continues to lead. Europe got onto the renewable energy, clean energy direction much earlier than the rest of the world. The US and the Americas as a whole is in second place, Asia third place, but Asia growing very, very fast. In terms of the source of the money, the bulk of it does still come from the private sector. It's private money, it's capital markets money, but it's really being underpinned by public sector money, guarantees, some subsidies, some funds and so on, and a big slug of stimulus money that's been released in response to the crisis. And that's about to hit the industry next year. It didn't really come through this year, and it's going to hit the industry next year, and that's one of the reasons why we think it's going to surge.
Okay, well, are there any concerns about alternative energy being the next big thing to inflate and then possibly deflate, like a bubble? You know, we had the .com boom, we had the property boom. Could green energy be next?
Well, it is clearly, the sector is more volatile than some of the traditional energy sectors because there is policy risk involved, and there's, it is dependent on, on developments in an ongoing discussion about climate change. So when there's things like ClimateGate, this email scandal, then it tends to sort of upset people. But the bottom line is, I don't think so, because the long-term trend is towards lower carbon energy and away from high carbon energy, not just because of a particular debate around climate change, but also because of depletion of oil and gas reserves, because of the energy security issues are becoming very dependent, in Europe's case on Russian gas, in the US's case on Middle Eastern oil and so on. So there's all these trends going on, and they all point in one direction. So volatility, yes. Endpoint, not in doubt.
Okay, well, and putting in place those trends, of course, are the delegates at the Copenhagen Conference. You are there attending the conference. Any surprises so far?
Well, no, we're still in the first week of the conference, and so these are like, these different blocks, these different countries, they're kind of like sumo wrestlers. They're circling each other and they're testing each other out, and they give each other a bit of a push. But, it doesn't really kick off until next week when the heads of state and the various, where the heavyweight political figures arrive, and that's when the deals will have to either be done or not be done.
What countries are you expecting to take the lead? Will it continue to be Western Europe?
Well, Western Europe is out there in front in terms of the commitments that they've publicly said they're prepared to make. So that's one set of leaders, if you like, for the developed world. In the developing world, there's been the sort of leading position is actually being taken by the small island states, and these are a bunch of countries that are very low-lying, quite low populations, but the issue for them is, 2.5 degrees of warming, and some of those will disappear from the map. So they have an incredibly strong moral position to say, guys, you've got to do a deal, and it's got to stop this from happening. And so there's, if you like, the other camp is coalescing around those small island states' positions,
right.
And there's quite a gulf between the developed world and the developing world still.
Gotcha. All right. Thank you so much for your thoughts. We've been speaking with Michael Liebreich, CEO of New Energy Finance over in Copenhagen.